good evening, everybody. Welcome to the meeting of the Grandville City Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask Marcy to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Gelderlos.
Present.
Merringa.
Present.
Norcup.
Here.
Steenstra.
Here.
Truist.
Here.
Vanderwall.
Here.
And Mayor Mas.
Here. Well, looks like we've got a full house tonight. Department heads, every seat taken, and council's all here too, so welcome. Tonight, Council Members Steenstra will be giving the invocation. So for those of you who wish, I'd invite you to stand, and we're going to follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pray with me if you desire. Almighty God, we pause a moment to give you thanks and ask your blessing. We give you thanks for this beautiful day, for this time here to meet as government, as officials in Grandville. We ask your blessing on this meeting. We give you thanks for our department heads, the people who work for the city, and all the people who keep this place beautiful. We face some issues tonight and contemplate some things, and we seek guidance from you. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that very much. We have before you tonight the agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there a motion to approve that agenda? Support. Motion and support. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposition, please say no. Great. We also have the minutes from our last meeting, September 22. We had a chance to take a look at those. Is there a motion to approve those or any additions, corrections, anything anybody wants to comment on those minutes?
So moved.
Motion to approve.
Support.
And support. Okay. Any other final comments, questions? If not, all those in favor, please say, of approving, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposition, please say no. Okay, great. We also, let's see, down to the presentation of the bills. You know, it seems like we have seven-figure bill list a lot. So again, I say this like every time for the last 10 meetings. Lots going on.
There is a lot going on. Happy to highlight a few things for the council. First off, I'll highlight an invoice from Benzinski and Company in the amount of $30,300. This was for the municipal financial advising services associated with the bond issue that closed at the end of September. This proposal from Benzinski was approved back in May, and I would say I think they did a really good job advising us through that process, ultimately to a successful bond closing. Ecoff Columbarium Inc. in the amount of $21,322.59. This is the final payment, so 3 of 3 for the new columbarium that's been installed at the cemetery. George Hofacker Equipment in the amount of $16,312.59. This will be the first of several of these that I'll go. This is the mower that was approved on September 22nd. We have Todd Wenzel Buick GM, $56,000. That's the fire truck pickup truck that was approved on September 8th. Todd Wenzel Chevrolet, the amount of $54,000. That was the police Tahoe that was approved on September 28th. And Woodland Equipment, $18,265.34. That's the utility of the vehicle that was approved on September 22nd. So that's probably why your invoice list is, or your amount is a little higher than our standard, as we've got a lot of those purchases that has been approved over the last few meetings. We also have our annual dues to the Grand Valley Metro Council in the amount of $63,694.27. This gets us many things, but one of them that's noteworthy is that is our annual subscription to Regis, our GIS system that we use. We have Lease Trenching Service Inc. in the amount of $20,050.50. This is the storm sewer installation on Ottawa that was approved back on August 25th. We'll talk about that a little bit more later in the meeting. People Driven Technology Inc. in the amount of $12,222.34. This is progress payment related to the physical security system updates. So again, phase one is updating the door access systems. Just as a friendly reminder, talked about this a little bit with the leadership team at staff meeting earlier today, but a lot of this phase one door access system is behind the scenes isn't the right word. It's back end work. It's not necessarily visible improvements. It's a lot of software and like fiber infrastructure type items. So there is progress being made on that project, even though you may not be physically seeing it in terms of things on the building. And then 2 invoices, one from Marjo Construction Service Inc. and one from Ottawa County Farms Landfill. These are 2 contractors, or excuse me, 2 vendors that are street sweeping related expenses. So both equipment related to the street sweeping, but also the disposal of the spoils that we pull from street sweeping, excuse me, can't talk this evening. But we do have to pay to get those spoils tested, and depending on the test results, they ultimately get disposed of in different ways. So those are some expenses associated with that. And then lastly, want to highlight, where is it? An invoice from McQueen in the amount of $25,848.42. This was actually an emergency purchase that was made since the last meeting to replace the water pump on the vac truck that we use, multiple times a week. The pump went down and needed to be replaced. Otherwise, we really open up the city to a lot of risk when it comes to not being able to jet water and sewer lines or address water or sewer line breaks if they happen. So we did explore, as opposed to moving straight forward with that purchase and bringing it to you this evening, renting a vac truck for the 3-week period. But what we found was it was gonna cost us $5,500 a week, or about $16,000 just to rent one, to wait 3 weeks to bring you all the formal ask for that. And what we determined is that was in nobody's best interest to spend $15,000 to wait a couple weeks. So ultimately we decided that in the best interest it was better off just to get that repaired right away. The bad news is the vac truck was down for a couple days. The good news is now that that pump's been replaced, we will more than likely be able to push the ultimate replacement of the vac truck a couple years down the line on our CIP, which is about a $650,000 piece of equipment. So being able to buy ourselves a couple extra years probably isn't a bad thing either. But just wanted to point that one out to you all because it was something that we don't like to make a habit of, but was more of an emergency purchase that we needed to make since the last meeting. But happy to discuss that or any of the other items more with you if you have questions.
Any questions for Griffin on any of the bills tonight? If not, is there a motion to approve the bills tonight in the amount of $1,125,995.69?
So much.
Support.
Motion and support. Any final comments, questions? If not, Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Merringa,
Yes.
Norhuck,
Yes.
Steenstra,
Yes.
Truce,
Yes.
Vanderwall,
Yes.
Gelderlos,
Yes.
and Mayor Mas.
Yes. Well, for presentations tonight, the first one is Friends of Buck Creek, and I see we have some Friends of Buck Creek, so I don't know who's gonna do the presentation, but welcome. Tell us about what's going on with one of the best things we've got in Grandville.
See, I told you.
I do as a printout, so I think I'm one short of the 10 of you, but.
While he's doing that, I'm gonna start.
Never mind.
Good evening, Martha Vermeulen, 4263 Indian Spring, right here in Grandville. Tonight I'm speaking as a member, friend of Buck Creek, as you probably figured out by now. I'm really pleased to introduce this young man standing next to me. He is our current president. His name is Grant Simons. And I've already told him how supportive and interested you are in caring for this amazing little creek that runs through our community as well as several others. But I'd like to tell you a little bit about him. I won't take long because he has a lot to share with you. As I said, he's been our president for the last 2 years. He's overseen 2 successful creek cleanups, some of you have participated in. He's also orchestrated planting a riparian garden, which is similar to a rain garden except it's flat. And that's over at Lemery Park. He's been working with several watershed organizations and getting that going, and it's beautiful. It's going to be a great way to filter and cool water for Buck Creek down in Lemery Park. And remember, I think I've said before, what happens upstream happens downstream, so that's a good thing for us too. He serves as a civil engineer in the city of Wyoming, but you'll soon find out he does live in Grandville. He's also a staff engineer at the Kent County Drain Commissioner's Office, focusing on stormwater infrastructure compliance. He's earned degrees in both environmental engineering and environment from the U of M. Did I get that all right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Excellent.
I'm not at the drain office anymore, but I
No,
was.
but yeah, you got that experience. So in short, all those questions you've been wanting to ask me that I had no answers for, here we go. Grand Simon.
Thanks, Martha.
Oh, you're welcome.
But thanks for having me. Mostly just kind of wanted to come and talk about some of what we've done the last couple of years, because I know Friends of Buck Creek has presented to Grandville in the past, but I think it's been a couple of years now since we last presented. And also just, talk about how Grandville can kind of keep involved with the creek as well. So I want to talk about a little bit of the history of the creek. So going back to the 1800s and 1900s, European settlement. Before that, obviously, the creek was very natural, but a lot of sections of the creek we straightened. We turned into county drains for the sake of draining the land so that we could have, the bountiful farm fields that we have, especially still in the south parts of the watershed. And of course, we put in a lot of storm sewers in the urban areas to drain away from houses and parking lots and everything too. And all of this has served to drain the land more, the runoff from land more quickly into the creek. And this has resulted in higher creek levels throughout its history, and greater flooding and erosion from those flows. Up until a point in the 1990s when there was a study that was done by municipalities in the area. It was organized by the Drain Commissioner's Office. And that pretty much determined that if we wanted to stop the creek from increasing to flooding from increasing, then while the area was still being developed, then all new developments going in had to essentially have stormwater management or stormwater ponds put in to kind of store that water over time and slowly release it back into the creek to prevent a lot of that erosion from getting worse. In 2007, that was when the state first approved a watershed management plan that talks about different strategies for improving the health of the creek. 2014, that was when Friends of Buck Creek, Friends of Buck Creek wasn't founded yet, but that was when there was the first annual cleanup, and then shortly after that, Friends of Buck Creek officially formed as an organization. And then I want to talk about just a few years ago, new standards kind of went through the state coming down from the Clean Water Act and the federal government that require kind of greater storage and treatment of stormwater in addition to the rules that were passed in 1990 to further try and decrease erosion and pollution to the creek. So I want to talk about some of the different forms of Buck Creek pollution. So trash is a very common one, and it's typically considered one of the most crucial pollutants to target in a creek. Trash can introduce bacteria, and you can also get bacteria from dogs going to the bathroom or from septic systems that might not be working or leaky sewers. Sediment can be a pollutant in the creek. So if you think of maybe a bare farm field, if it gets a lot of melt from the winter or a lot of rainfall in the spring, can carry a lot of that sediment into the creek. And it's not so much bad for us so much as it's bad for a lot of the insects and fish in the creek, because when that sediment settles, it'll cover up their habitat, and fish have a harder time laying eggs sometimes, or the insects don't live as well, which of course is what the fish eat. Temperature and heat are another common pollutant in the creek. So you can kind of look at that map and see that a lot of the main branch of Buck Creek is considered a cold water creek, and that's important for a lot of the fish populations such as brown trout that thrive in colder waters. But there are some tributaries going into the creek that you can see in the red where the water is actually a little bit warmer. And you can see in that south reach, that's most likely from where it's very agricultural, it's very open right there to the creek, so you kind of have the sun beating down on the main channel of the creek, as opposed to throughout a lot of Wyoming and Grandville where there's good tree cover throughout the creek that helps to keep it shaded. Organics can be a pollutant, not so much leaves falling in the creek, that's all natural, but I guess if you had maybe a big spill of sugar, or if you used beet juice to try and keep ice off the roads in the winter, then what some of that sugar in the water can do is it can get broken down by microbes, and they eat up all the oxygen in the water, and then that's when fish tend to die. Same thing can happen if you have a bunch of algae in the water that breaks down too quickly, then you can have zero oxygen conditions that kill off fish in the water. So in that sense, organics can be a pollutant. Nutrients, so fertilizers, excess fertilizers from the farms, if they get to the point where they're causing algal blooms, then you could have fish die-offs like I just mentioned. Salt is a big pollutant. Unfortunately, it's hard to prevent because there aren't great alternatives. You know, sand can be an alternative, but that sediment, kind of like I talked about, so it's kind of a different pollutant. But if you have your trucks calibrated, that's typically the best practice that you can do with the salt trucks to kind of prevent the amount of salt that you're putting out in the winter, and encouraging private businesses to try and do the same a little bit. That's probably the best way to at least try and cut down on the salt, but in order to maintain public safety, we just still have to use it. Heavy metals, you can think of every time you slam on the brakes with your car and you get brake pad metals all over the road, and other various metals can make their way to the creek. Vehicle fluids such as oils, every time you're in a parking lot and you see that rainbow on the pavement, if it rains that day or before it can dry up, then it's going to make its way typically right into the creek eventually, or into some storm sewers and then into the creek. Sewage, so leaky septic systems, leaky sewers, or septic systems that haven't been maintained, all can contribute to that. And other various man-made compounds, microplastics, you can think same as when you hit your brakes on the road, your tires breaking down, that introduces microplastics into the water. And of course, all the various plastic trash that you find. Styrofoam is especially difficult during our annual cleanup because it just wants to fall apart pretty quickly after getting into the water, and then it's pretty hard to get out. So there are many practices that can be instituted at least to prevent some of the pollution. You can't really prevent all of it. Preventing litter, street sweeping is probably the best practice that can be instituted and kept up with to keep a lot of that trash out, because people are throwing trash out their car window and it's making its way to the drain in the road, and then from there it makes its way to the creek. I'm pretty sure that's how most trash ends up getting introduced, not so much people walking along the creek and throwing something in there. But there is plenty of dumping in places along the creek as well. And then of course what we do every year with the cleanup, sometimes that's the best way to get trash out, because eventually someone, if you got systems that are separating it, you can put these expensive systems in the roads and everything that will kind of filter them out, but someone's still going to have to empty those and clean them out. So the cleanup is necessary. Stormwater treatment. So other pollutants can be removed oftentimes through infiltration practices. That's kind of a inexpensive way to try and manage stormwater, drain it all to an open area where it can soak into the ground instead of draining it directly into the creek, because a lot of the sediment and the plants will help to filter out those various pollutants and break them down slowly over time, depending on the pollutant. Agricultural practices can be changed a little bit in at least southern parts of the watershed. Doesn't apply so much for Grandville. Reducing fertilizers when you can, planting a cover crop in the winter, essentially instead of leaving your land bare, planting something that you'll till back into the soil in the spring before you plant whatever your crop is, just to hold the soil together during the winter. Implementing no-till or minimal till practices. I don't know too much about that, just not a farmer, but know that that's common. And then various public education, I'd say, is necessary too, so people can feel informed of what they can be doing to help protect the creek. So picking up pet waste is an obvious one that I think most people know, just some people don't want to take the time. So proper hazardous waste disposal, definitely don't want anyone pouring oils into catch basins, into drains in the roads, making sure that you're taking that to the right place. I don't know if Grandville has like household hazardous waste site. I know Wyoming, we have one at our water treatment plant, but managing septic tanks, I don't know if there are many people in Grandville that really still have septic tanks. I know in Wyoming we have a couple, but making sure that people are maintaining those. Limiting salt for de-icing, talked about that a little bit. Car washing, so that's kind of an interesting one. It's better to have your car washed at a car wash place than to do it in your driveway, because that Tommy's Express down the road drains into the sanitary sewer. All the water and soap and everything on your vehicle that's coming off is going to get treated at the treatment plant. But if you do it in your driveway, it's going down the driveway and going into the drain in the road, then it's going to eventually make its way into the creek or another body of water. You can try and divert that water into your lawn and let it soak into the lawn or something if you really like doing it yourself. Nothing wrong with that. So Friends of Buck Creek, we do the cleanup every year. That's kind of our biggest project, and has been throughout our history. We planted one pretty major rain garden at Oakstown Middle School that really helps to soak up a lot of the water from their parking lot that used to drain directly into the creek. Martha briefly mentioned the planting that we did this spring at Lemery Park in Wyoming along the creek. We have a water quality monitor that we maintain that collects data on temperature and conductance, which is kind of a measure of salt content in the water, how cloudy the water is or how murky. And then we have other various events too, periodically. So here's a neat picture from our 2019 cleanup. You can really see the before and after difference. And over the years, we go to a lot of the same sites every year, and there's usually more to find, but we have noticed a lot of sites have gotten better over the years, and we are trying to really branch out further south to some sections where we really haven't been to before, like some of the tributaries that go into Kentwood as well. We haven't given much attention, but it does make a difference over time. So here are some pictures of the rain garden I was talking about at Oakstown Intermediate School. So we had some help with fundraising from that. I know the school helped support. Steve Moss helped raise a lot of money for that project as well. We had help from a consultant, Native Edge, and I think they did a wonderful job with the plants they selected and their design of the whole area. I think it's in full bloom pretty well in that picture to the right. But yeah, I think a portion of the school's parking lot, or maybe the entire parking lot up front there, I'm not sure the details, drains to that spot, and it used to go directly to the creek right in Wedgwood Park. But now that water has a chance to kind of just soak into the ground, and a lot of the microplastics and bacteria and trash that otherwise would have made its way to the creek from the parking lot has a chance to be filtered a little bit before that water eventually soaks through the ground and still ends up in the creek.
You're right, Grant, that rain garden handles the stormwater from that entire parking lot.
Yeah.
It was designed to be deep to handle it, so that's pretty exciting. And the school district had a lot to do with that happening too, so it was definitely a team effort.
And this is the planting project that we did this spring at Lemery Park. It was a like 1,400 square foot area that we planted with several hundred native plants, and we had some shrubs and trees that were kind of mixed in there too. some open spaces still that might go over next year and fill in with some more plants. But overall, we've had a really good survival rate with those plants, kind of better than I expected it would go as far as survival rate. And so we're proud of that, but hopefully stays healthy into the next coming years. So here's a map of Buck Creek as it passes through Grandville. So you can see Wilson Avenue and Prairie Parkway kind of highlighted the main corridors. You can see where the cemetery is in Mill Race Park and Oakstown Middle School where we had our project. So you can kind of see that there's quite a bit of what we call riparian area, nice forested area along the creek where the creek can be shaded, and you get a lot of woody debris and leaves falling in that are healthy for the creek, and it helps. The trees also kind of help hold the banks together. And there are a lot of nice wetlands through there. It's overall a very healthy section of the creek. And I know too in the surveys that the DNR does, that's of the 4 sites they picked along the creek where they had the most fish populations, the most different species, and the most number of trout. So it's kind of, as far as angling goes, probably the preferred section of the creek. So I want to talk a little bit, I guess, about what Grandville can do. So we know that, I know that Grandville kind of identified Buck Creek as an important priority, and I think your 2025 strategic planning session or one of them, so I know that the creek is important to Grandville. So our cleanup is our biggest event every year, helping share information related to that, just saying something on Facebook, which I think Grandville does, if I remember right. That's very helpful to us. Anyone interested is always welcome to volunteer with us for that event as well. Past couple of years, we've gotten about 100 people each year, so it's a fun group of people. Or share contacts with any public contacts that you kind of have, people that you think might be interested. Investigate pollution incidents. So this is something that Grandville's probably already required to do, because I have to do it for Wyoming. I'm just not sure who does it for Grandville, but whenever you get a call, someone dumping something they're not supposed to, just follow up and provide education, make sure it doesn't happen again, clean up if you can. Require new developments going into the city along the creek to maintain kind of a natural buffer along the creek. That's something that you can do that can help preserve the creek well and preserve the health of the creek. I think generally most developments kind of end up having to do that anyway, because it's probably in the floodplain, those 25, 50 feet along the creek, and they're probably not going to do much in there. But if people were trying to build right up to the creek's edge, then that could be not wise either with erosion that could happen. And also supporting tree and other native planting projects in the city. I talked with Charlie like a couple weeks ago about potentially planting some trees in Mill Race Park, and he expressed some interest and sent him some more specific locations. But we have a grant currently where we're getting 100 free trees, and we're trying to plant them over the next couple of years. So public parks are really ideal spaces, I think, for that. And we'd like to plant the trees along the creek too to help prevent erosion. So ideally in spots where it looks like the bank is kind of sliding in a little bit. And I'd like to end with a quote by Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. But happy to take any questions. If there are any questions about what we do or the creek in general.
Questions for Grant? Thank you so much for what you do and showing love to the creek. I mean, it is one of the most beautiful natural beauty things that we have in the city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Time for public comment. Anybody here tonight like to address the council? Just come on up to the podium, give us your name, address, and tell us what you think about tonight. Now is your chance. Anybody? Okay, no public comment. We'll go down to the consent agenda. Approval of the consent agenda tonight would be in the best interest of the city because there are some purchases on there and see in your council packets, there's some backup information on those. But we have September treasurers and police report and also the minutes from the historical commission and the library board. And like I said, we have some purchase orders and requests. One is for the courtroom audio-visual equipment, and I believe that you had a memo in there on that.
Yes, and IT Director Jason Rotman's here to answer any
Great.
questions you may have about that.
And also, electric for the generator at the water tank meter building, which is out on Wilson Avenue by the big tank. And also, some street repaving of Ottawa Avenue, and I saw Charlie put those bids in, and one came substantially, about half what the other ones are, so that's good. Somebody needed or wanted some work, so that's good.
Same company paved the roads black gold, so
Okay.
they're trying.
Yeah. So, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda in the best interest of the city?
So.
Support.
Motion and support. Any comments, questions, anything anybody wants to discuss in particular? If not, Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Norhuck,
Yes.
Steenstra,
Yes.
Truce,
Yes.
Vanderwall,
Yes.
Gelderlos,
Yes.
Merringa,
Yes.
and Mayor Mas.
Yes. Griffin, city managers report already. You've got a lot of things for us tonight to think about.
Yeah, there's a few things on there. We'll go ahead and get started with the first one, which is bringing back the proposed cybersecurity and information technology policy. As many of you will remember, Jason introduced this updated policy to you all at the city council meeting on September 8th. At that time, we were not looking for any action, just really want to introduce it to you all, give you a chance to have any discussion or ask any questions you may have about it. There was limited discussion at that time, and was asked to bring that back to the city council kind of as soon as possible. Decided to not bring it at the last meeting, just to wait until Jason had his other item to come and just be respectful of his time and have him here kind of for the two items instead of coming to every meeting. But all that being said, he is here this evening if there are any other questions or concerns that you all have thought of since then. But otherwise, this evening we are recommending that the city council consider adopting the updated cybersecurity and information technology policy.
Anything you'd like to add, or?
No, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So I've got a question, and maybe it's in the materials already, but I'm assuming this is similar to the policy that the city of Walker has, for
It's
example.
the exact same policy.
Okay, exactly. And they've approved that already?
Yes, we approved that, we've been implementing it.
And how long has that been in place for a while, and? it's going
About
on?
2-3 months,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, it looks like you've covered lots of material.
It was a little bit of an effort to get a lot of stuff in that small of a package, but yeah.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about back in September, and I don't remember the exact year off the top of my head, but part of the recommendation for this is just obviously how an organization like ours uses technology has changed a lot over the years, not to mention the amount of cybersecurity risks are very different. But it was something like the last time we addressed our information technology policy was something like 2002.
Yeah.
So we're trying to modernize, not necessarily do anything crazy, but just try to make sure our policies are current with today's practices.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, a lot of the stuff in there you're doing already. It's more formalizing it so you can show external people like insurance company auditors and stuff. This is our official plan, so.
Looks good. Any questions for Jason? Okay. If not, is there a motion to approve the information technology and cybersecurity policies, a copy of which we have?
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion support. Questions, comments? Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Steenstra,
Yes.
Truce,
Yes.
Vanderwall,
Yes.
Gelderlos,
Yes.
Merringa,
Yes.
Norhuck,
Yes.
and Mayor Mas.
Yes.
The next item for you all this evening is a fee agreement with Alera Group. So in February, the city staff issued an RFQ to explore options for employee benefit support, which coincided with the retirement of our longtime insurance broker from Olivier Van Dyke, or OVD. After multiple interviews and gathering some employee feedback, Alera Group, formerly Lighthouse, was selected to provide employee benefit support moving forward. When I say employee benefit support, what we're referring to is our annual insurance brokerage services associated with going out to the market and finding the best options for employee benefits, health insurance, dental, vision, AEP, so on and so forth for our employees. But one of the goals of going through this process was also to transition away from the fee-based arrangement that had been being used with OVD for the last handful of years, and move towards the more industry standard commission-based model. So essentially, instead of us paying a fee directly to the insurance brokerage, they would get paid via a commission from the insurance companies, which is what, candidly, how most insurance brokers are paid. However, because we are in the middle of a benefits year where a fee-based model is being used, we're not able to transition to that commission-based model until the start of the new benefits year, which would be on January 1, 2026. So in the meantime, I am requesting that the City Council authorize a fee agreement similar to the one that was used with OVD to pay Alera Group for their services between when they started working for us on August 1st through the end of this calendar year, with the understanding that moving forward in 2026, an agreement like this would no longer be necessary, as we would have transitioned to that industry standard commission-based approach. I will share that the proposed agreement with the Alera Group is at a lower per employee rate than what was being used for OVD, so there is a minor savings there, but ultimately what I just wanted to share is there's going to be no negative impact on the adopted budget, whether we were paying OVD or now looking to pay Alera. That was something that was already incorporated in the budget. But what I do want to highlight is that I'm really excited about this change for our team. Alera Group is already making some differences this year for health insurance renewal proposals. They were actually able to bring us policies that would result in a net decrease in cost for our employees. So as you all know, via PA 152, we all cap out, the city caps out, we pay the cap, the hard cap of employee benefits, and costs above that are borne by premiums by our employees. And by making this change, we are going to be able to directly save our employees money on their health insurance. And what many of you likely know about the health insurance market is that is not particularly common in today's day and age. So the fact that they were able to bring us some options like this year, I think are already showing some of the value that they're going to be able to bring. So with all that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions. I do have HR manager Emily Navarre here this evening, who was a major part in this process, and she can speak to part of the RFQ, the interviews, the selection, or any of that if you're interested in learning more. But really the action we're looking for this evening is for council to consider authorizing the proposed fee agreement for the rest of the calendar year.
So Emily, since you are here already, is there anything you'd like to add? I mean, obviously the experience has been good with.
Yeah,
the group,
they've been great to work with, and we, like Griffin said, we're already gonna see significant savings for our employees, so they're very excited about the transition to Alera. We're very excited about what they can do and some of the things that they're gonna help us just be able to communicate better with our employees, you know, making sure everybody's understanding their benefits and getting the most bang for their buck. So
Emily, do you want to share a little bit about the committee we're going to be starting surrounding employee benefits?
yeah, so traditionally, right before our renewal, we try to meet with our union representatives just to go over the renewal, and talk to them about what's coming up. And that is great, but we want to incorporate them more throughout the year, just to kind of keep everybody up to date on trends or kind of why we might be facing either increases or savings, just to have a better understanding and have more employee engagement in benefit selection, and, you know, just watching those trends and everything. So we're excited about that because Alera is really willing to meet with us and partner with us to get that off the ground and just, again, enhance the experience for our employees.
Any questions for Emily or Griffin? If not, is there a motion to, I'm sorry.
Just quick questions. So as like a third-party consulting firm, are they gonna be making recommendations then from year to year on what vendors we should be using for different benefits packages or services?
Yes.
Or anytime we need to make some changes, like if we're gonna go between like a, you know, let's say Priority Health or Blue Cross or whatever, we'll
Yep.
kind of look at all those and see what our kind of population of employees' needs are and make recommendations for those kinds of things.
Yep, they go out to the market for us and get those quotes and see, you know, who's willing to give us a quote or what those best options are. They've already talked to us kind of about making like strategic plans, which is kind of exciting for, you know, like 3 years or 5 years, and kind of looking ahead to where we want to go for, I guess, the direction for just exploring different funding options or different options for our employee offerings that we have to, just to continue to be a desired employee or employer. So attraction, retention, and what we can do.
What all types of benefits are included? Obviously, like health, dental, vision, but are there other benefits that are included in what they're providing as well?
Yep, we offer health, dental, and vision, and then there's voluntary life, and there's a city-provided life insurance, as well as long-term disability. And then they're actually helping us move to offering some other additional plans, similar to, we were on an AFLAC, we offered AFLAC, but they were individual plans. So now we're going to get some group rates through Mutual of Omaha, so similar coverages for different, like critical illness, hospital indemnity type plans. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but being able to offer those to our employees, like a short-term disability, things like that, that they can opt into and pay for, but at lower rates, because we're gonna be able to get group rates.
Good, great.
Yeah, so this really is, when you think about the two pieces, the brokerage and the consulting piece, the brokerage is really the tangible part of them going out to the market as our authorized representative and obtaining quotes on our behalf. And then the consulting side is really where they are both on an annual basis making recommendations on plan offerings, but also starting to work with us, thinking kind of multiple years down the road on how we can position our organization to be as competitive as we can be when going out to the market for quotes, but also thinking about it from an employee retention and attraction standpoint. How do we make sure we are competitive in terms of the benefits we're offering to our employees? So if I'm correct, Alera provides similar services to the city of Wyoming.
Yes.
Again, they're not new to the municipal realm, and by offering kind of those services in addition to gonna help us facilitate an employee benefits advisory committee, I think we can just continue to build on the strong benefit package we offer to our employees and make sure that they feel like they have a level of input and buy-in in the decisions we're making in terms of what benefits we are able to offer.
Any other comments, questions? Emily, thank you for your help with all of this too. I'm sure it's quite a bit of work. Is there a motion to enter into the client consulting services agreement with Alera Group? And this goes back to the beginning of August and to the end of the year.
Move to approve.
Motion
Support.
and support. Other comments or questions? Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Truist,
Yes.
Vanderwall,
Yes.
Gelderlos,
Yes.
Merringa,
Yes.
Nordhook,
Yes.
Steenstra,
Yes.
and Mayor Mas.
Yes.
Thank you, and I do also wanna kinda give Emily a lot of credit. She's done a lot for us over this last year. You know, if you think about, implementing a compensation study, facilitating an RFQ process, and onboarding a new insurance brokerage, and, also doing a recruitment for a new fire chief. We're very fortunate to have been able to take on, all of those things, not to mention all of those things in-house in a one-year period. So just wanna make sure she gets a lot of credit for the work, she's been doing to help us and our employees. Moving on to the next item, we are looking for authorization for a license agreement with Tippy Cow Ice Cream, specifically DVP Properties LLC. So there's a memo in the packet that details this request, looking for the license agreement to be granted. This is in regard to the nice new patio that Tippy Cow Ice Cream installed over the last year. It was partially constructed in the public right-of-way, and because of that, we want to make sure that situation is getting appropriately documented. So this license agreement would document that situation and some conditions of continuing to allow that patio to remain in the right-of-way. It would be a revocable license that would allow the patio to remain in place with the understanding that it would need to be removed at the owner's expense should the city at some point in the future determine that the right-of-way be needed for a public purpose. But otherwise, implementing license agreement like this is really just a standard best practice for these inevitable situations that happen, to allow them to continue and at the same time preserving the city's rights, indemnities, so on and so forth, should we need that property for a public purpose at some point in the future. So this evening, I do think we have representatives from Tippy Cow here. They've been working with our staff to get all this ironed out, and obviously we're very excited about all the good things they're doing in Grandville, including the investment they made in a beautiful new patio and outdoor seating option. We just want to make sure from our standpoint we're getting everything documented appropriately. So with that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions. I know Teresa, Matt, and the city attorney have all been working on this to make sure it's in a form that we are all comfortable with, and this evening just looking for the city council to consider authorization.
Great. Catherine, anything you'd like to add or tell us about how your summer went?
No, it's been a great summer.
Okay.
Very excited about the new patio. We did make an effort to kind of pull back from the right-of-way with the patio, but it didn't quite hit the mark, and so I apologize, we're still in the right-of-way. But yeah, it's been a great summer. Very appreciative to the DDA for the facade grants that helped all this be possible, and excited to do some more upgrades.
Do you have anything pumpkin?
Lots of pumpkin cheesecake, pumpkin Oreo.
And how
Lots of
late
good
are you gonna be open this year, do you think?
Man, that's the question.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm shooting for Halloween, actually. I am,
Good.
longest season.
David, you drafted this, so I know that it's done perfectly then.
Hopefully.
Is there any other questions about this? Or, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Justin.
Okay, I just have one question, and that is, I don't recall ever seeing something like this, so I'm just wondering from a process standpoint, has the city always followed this process where something like this is brought directly to the city council and not to another board or anything like that? It primarily just jumps right to the council?
Yeah, the city council is really the right party to enter into any contract like this with a landowner. And this is, as the city manager said, really kind of best practices to ensure that where we've got an encroachment into the right of way, that everybody's just on the same page in terms of what happens if the city needs to use the right of way. It's really just where we have an encroachment like this, the way we typically address it. And yeah, the city council is the right party to approve the agreement.
I can add to that if it's okay. So the DDA has been involved in some of the discussions involved of working through this project as a whole. They authorized some facade grant funding that helped support some of the projects they've been doing. We ultimately got to this position where at the end of the day, there's a minor encroachment that needs to get resolved. I can tell you all that, I don't know how common using a license agreement like this has been used by the city of Grandville in the past. Admittingly, I don't know how often you all have had situations like this that have required a remedy or a problem solving like this, but I can tell you in many other communities that I've worked in, these are really common agreements for when outdoors, when a restaurant wants to put outdoor seating on sidewalks in a downtown area that is technically public right away. Again, it's more of just a way to document so everyone's playing by the same understanding that it's still public property, we're gonna allow you to use it with certain protections, but just, you document it so there's not any confusion down the road that we didn't know or did know that this was happening. It's just, as soon as we become aware of it, it's a way to problem solve other than making a private property owner rip a brand new patio up or do some other thing that I don't think anyone really wants. I've worked in communities that admittingly I think have gone overboard with license agreements and have allowed everything, even private irrigation systems in the right of ways to have irrigation. I'm trying to remember, I was required at my home in South Haven to get one, and I don't even remember what that, I don't even remember what we put in our right of way, but it was something that was so minor, but they used these types of agreements a lot. But in a situation like this, it's my strong recommendation that this is just the most, this is the cleanest way to handle a situation like this that I still think gets all parties what they are looking for in the end of the day.
Yeah, I just want to be clear, I'm going to vote for it. I thank you for the explanation. It was mainly just that I hadn't seen something like this, so I want to make sure that we're following precedent if there is one, and
And admittingly,
treating all
I
parties.
just don't know how often Grandville
Sure,
has used it historically.
That was spot on what I was gonna ask myself, so,
Great minds.
yeah.
That's right. Okay, is there a motion to approve entering into the encroachment license agreement with DVP Properties LLC as explained?
So moved.
Motion
Support.
and support. Any other comments, questions? Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Vanderwall,
Yes.
Gelderlos,
Yes.
Merringa,
Yes.
Norhuck,
Yes.
Steenstra,
Yes.
Truce,
Yes.
and Mayor Mas.
Yes.
Moving on to the next item, we have a not so fun request for you all regarding an Ivan Rest storm sewer outlet repair. So the memo in the packet from the Department of Public Works details the request to repair a Fairlink storm drain that's causing a washout along Ivan Rest. This was originally shared with you at my end of meeting comments at the meeting on June 9th when it was initially identified. So on the north side of Ivan Rest, immediately south of Chicago Drive on the east side, the city has a storm sewer outlet that discharges into Porter Lake. And we have identified that that storm drain has disconnected. You can see that from some of the pictures that we were able to include with the request in the packet. Because of that disconnection of the pipe, water is not flowing all the way into Porter Lake, but instead it is causing the bank to begin to wash out. We have worked with the city engineer to determine the potential risks of fixing or not fixing this, and ultimately what we've determined is that if we do not move forward with repairing that outlet, it would put the rest of the Ivan Rest roadway at risk due to future erosion, particularly when it comes to snow melt and the rains this upcoming spring. So with that, unfortunately, we are bringing a request to you all to authorize Kaminga and Rudvoots to proceed with repairs at a cost not to exceed $117,900. I would also like to note, because this is, I guess I would say a critical repair that is not budgeted, it would get paid for out of the Major Streets Fund, and the options we would have is as we get to the spring and go out to bid for our annual road projects, at that time, we can evaluate where the Major Streets Fund budget is, and based on the road quotes at that time, we can determine whether or not we need to make any adjustments to the spring projects. But notwithstanding, it is staff's recommendation that this is a repair that needs to take place. So with all that being said, I know Charlie's been working with Tim Hoford and Warren Brugink quite a bit on this, just to make sure this is completely necessary and what options are needed in terms of making the repair. As you'll see through his memo, we will be replacing the pipe that extends into Porter Lake, putting a new cement cap, and then some riprap out around that to help to prevent any further erosion. So that's what we have for you all this evening, and happy to kind of talk about that more if there are questions.
Questions for Griffin? You're right, it's not a fun purchase, but
It's not,
pretty necessary. And
it's not, and one of those that I don't think we had a way to foresee coming, but unfortunately now that we know it's there, it's our responsibility to try to make sure that's right. I would tell you all, I am maybe that naive one to ask Charlie the question of, well, can we just let it go and see what happens? But unfortunately, if we were to take that risk and more of the bank were to erode, it would more than likely start to take parts of Ivanrest with it. And I can tell you that would get much more expensive than even this expensive ask of you all this evening. So it's one of those that it's probably not in our best interest to delay, but better off to get that repaired yet this fall so that we're secure come the spring melt.
Questions for Griffin? Josh?
It's not county drain, is it?
That is not county drain. We did look into that. There is a county drain that, but it's on the other side of Porter Lake.
Well, maybe they
Yeah,
can.
good thought.
We very much did quite a bit of exploration kind of right away. I actually think when I originally brought this to you all we knew at the time was we were starting to have a washout there. We were not aware of who the ownership of that was. I think we looked at everything was initially, did we think it was possibly a private discharge, but again, with the help of Regis, we were able to confirm that that is our public storm infrastructure.
Is there a motion to enter into a contract with Canagon Root Boots for these repairs in an amount not to exceed $117,900 in the best interest of the city?
So moved.
Motion, support. Any other questions, comments? Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gelderlos,
Yes.
Merringa,
Yes.
Nordhook,
Yes.
Steenstra,
Yes.
Truce,
Yes.
Vanderwaal,
Yes.
and Mayor Mas.
Yes.
The last item I have for you all this evening, where we don't need any action, but I would just like to provide an update for you all and get any input or have a discussion if necessary. But Court Administrator Julie Fend will be retiring from the city of Walker in April. We anticipate filling the position with an internal candidate from the city of Grandville, which would then create a vacancy for the city of Walker to fill. This collaborative approach is very similar to what was used in 2026 when Elizabeth Fisher retired and Julie Fend was promoted. So essentially, originally, we had the court administrator and they had the deputy, and then vice versa, and we're looking to kind of do a teeter-totter back, if you will. But the intent of this process is also for the city of Walker and the city of Grandville to continue sharing the court costs in the same 60-40 arrangement that's used now. Admittingly, there's some details associated with that that'll continue to that will need to be confirmed with our partners in Walker moving forward, but nevertheless wanted to provide the city council with an update and give you all an opportunity to provide any input on that plan before we take any steps further. Also, I'm really excited to share that Judge Christensen is here this evening. He offered himself to attend to answer any questions or discuss this anymore with you. Obviously, the court is one of the more unique functions we have within the city of Grandville, not only being joint paid for between the city and Walker, but also that they have employees of the court that are employees of the state, and courts in and of themselves are kind of a unique function. So I know Judge Christensen can speak to that. He has to live that kind of every day, even better than I can. But just wanted to give you all an update of where we were in terms of some transition and succession planning related to the court, and just give you an opportunity between the judge and I to have any discussion or provide any input you have before we move forward to try to finalize some of the details of these plans.
Any questions for Griffin? Judge, anything like you'd like to add, or?
Sure, yeah. I understand this isn't really up for, I guess, a vote or anything along those lines, but as Griffin said, it's kind of an important part from our court's perspective. We are unique in the sense that we've had a court administrator now in Grandville for almost 20 years. Not to correct you, Griffin, but I think you said 2026. It was 2006. Yes.
Sorry, yes.
In which Julie took over as court administrator. The internal candidate would be our deputy administrator moving into that role. It's something that I feel strongly, having someone that I trust. I've trusted Julie up to this point. I would continue to trust Mr. Overway in that role. So it's something that's important from our perspective to be able to kind of continue that continuity that we've been blessed with for such a long period of time. And it's not an unheard of switch, as was alluded to in the 2006. It was, the deputy and the court administrator have always been kind of separated between one city and the other. So each one sort of bears a cost. Whether you have the court administrator or the deputy can switch. And I think we're just really at a transition point where that switch makes some natural sense right now. So happy to I guess answer any questions on the process or kind of where we're at, but understanding that this isn't really up for much more than just kind of a back and forth here tonight. So if anybody has anything for me.
And I'll even throw a little more than that. Initially, it was before I was aware that the city of Grandville had ever employed the court administrator. I was planning and working with the judge to bring this to you all just to authorize that we could hire a court administrator, but then we dug a little deeper and realized that we had one before, so wasn't necessarily needing formal authorization to create a new position. It's more of just getting your input and making you all aware that we are looking into making a similar transition that we have in the past. Understanding some cost sharing things will still work out. That'll all get addressed with budgets as we move forward, and the judge can speak to it. But Walker and Grandville historically have played very nice together when it comes to making sure that the court is funded appropriately and costs are shared equitably. I don't have any reason to think that would change. Again, more than anything, want to be transparent and make sure you all are aware of some of the transition planning items that we're working on as an organization.
Sure, absolutely. And it's not the separation of, I guess, kind of wage between the administrator and the court administrator, or the deputy administrator, and the court administrator, isn't such a profound difference between the two that there's a lot of ask from one city versus the other. So I would just kind of say I don't think it's necessarily anything that I would be overly concerned about with the switch from which city picks up which portion of that, kind of tab, so to speak. And to go back, I had to learn as well about the 2006. Respectfully, I think I was a sophomore in high school when that happened. So not to age myself out, but I'm learning as I go here. So trying to figure that out as much as I can. So happy to answer now or at any point in the future if you guys do have any questions on the process or where we're at. So thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Judge. If there's no comments, questions, or concerns about that, I have one other update, and then we will be looking for council motion to go into closed session to discuss some ongoing commercial property tax appeals. But I just wanted to share, so those of you who will continue to be on council moving forward in November can mark your calendars that we are planning for the swearing-in ceremony to take place for new council members on November the 10th. Along with that, we will be arranging a period of time that afternoon / early evening for council members to get updated pictures for the website and other professional use, and my understanding has been kind of common practice as we go through council transition. So on that day, Monday, November 10th, from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m., the photographer will be here at City Hall. We're not going to schedule specific appointments. My understanding is they're relatively quick. So just any time in that, during that period, if you would please plan on coming by for a few minutes and getting your picture taken for the website and so on and so forth, that would be much appreciated. That is the only other item I have other than a request to go into closed session, but I'm happy to answer any other questions or provide any other updates the council is looking for.
Any other questions for Griffin? If not, before we go into closed session, let's do council member comments. Randy,
I just have very quickly, thank you to the fire department for a wonderful open house event. I know that I had a very happy son at home for getting to spray the hose and partake in those activities, so thank you for that. And then also, I'm very proud to say that in my personal life, I have not had any interaction with the court in my professional life. There were many years that I did the mock trial with my students at the courthouse here, and Julie was always very wonderful to work with, and so I'm very grateful for her role and the way that she made that experience happen for my students, and wish her the best with her retirement. So thank you for being here, Judge.
Just a question for Emily on the interviews for the assistant superintendent for the water department. Are you involved in that?
Yes.
And do we have a good pool?
Yes.
Yeah? And when is that happening?
We just finished up some interviews today, so I have to talk to Griffin actually about that for some next steps, tomorrow morning,
So we're close.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
And we did have some internal and external candidates for that posting.
I wanted to ask, but I thought I might not be allowed to, so thanks for the info.
Yep.
And then, JR, how soon till Raising Cane's is digging dirt?
They're hoping by 2026 to
Okay.
be up. The good news is that the first store in Grand Rapids is under construction now, and that should actually alleviate some of the overbearing buzz to Grandville. I think it's still a great thing, but it's a long time building that's ready to be freshened up. So I think you can expect some chicken next year.
Thank you. All right, that's all.
Paul?
I've enough. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to go to Fall Fest, but I think it was a great event as well. There's a lot of buzz about it. Scarecrows, I don't know how people keep doing this every year that keep coming up with creative ideas. You know, when there's pumpkin seeds and hay left over in the parking lot, you know it was a good time. So thank you, Teresa and DPW and everybody who was involved in that. Thank you.
Yeah, Fall Fest was great. Thanks, Teresa, for all your work, and just beautiful weather. Couldn't have been better. It was perfect. Also, just wanted to make one comment. Maybe this is a Jane comment. I noticed in our memos that said, following the receipt of our annual OPEB evaluation, that's what, other post-benefit employment.
Yes.
City of Grandville's funding percent went from 72 to 92. So, wow, I don't remember the last time we saw a positive thing like that happen with unfunded liability kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're gonna have that taken care of
Yes.
shortly, we hope,
Very
right?
excited about that. We're gonna, a couple more years of, a little pre-funding, and then once we're at 100%, we can start talking about doing some additional pre-funding for our pension liability. So, well, I will have a better idea after the audit is published, kind of where we stand, but that was the initial report.
Speaking of audit, you were busy last week
Oh,
with
yeah.
the auditors.
Yeah, audit went well, audit went great. Yep, I think you're all gonna be very happy with financial statements.
Okay,
And we are planning on having the audit report brought to you all at the second meeting in November. So you all can put that exciting presentation on your radars, but
well, it sounds like it's gonna be good news, so yes, that is
Absolutely.
pretty exciting.
let's hope, we deserve nothing less.
Great. Also, so there has been a request to go into closed session, so is there a motion to adjourn into closed session for the purpose of discussing two commercial tax appeals, one Lokes Theaters Incorporated and the other is SCG Hotel Investor Holdings REIT LLC. Motion, support, and support. Marcy, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Grandville.
Yes.
Norhuck.
Yes.
Steenstra.
Yes.
Truce.
Yes.
Van der Hoff.
Yes.
Gelderlos.
Yes.
And Mayor Mas.
Yes. Okay, we'll take, say, 3-minute break and we'll be back. Everybody, thank you for being here tonight, appreciate it.